In the process training on silo structure, you explain simple, complex, and tag silos, the later being recommendation for local services. Magic Page plugin doesn't use tags. Not sure if it uses categories or posts in the structure, but what is the silo structure? But what is the silo structure created by Magic Page plugin? Is it a simple silo? And can I easily mirror its silo structure elsewhere? Thanks. Yeah, tag silos. Some of that training is a bit outdated. In that I don't really use the whole tag silo method anymore. I did some pretty ninja stuff with it for a while, but I've learned to simplify my site builds. So what I found just through maturity and just experience in this, doing local SEO for so long, is that a lot of local sites don't need to be siloed. It depends on the kind of site. There's always variables, right? It's SEO, so it always depends. But what I found is a lot of local type sites, unless they're service area businesses that serve a very large service area where you have to separate things by geography, where it might need a complex silo structure, specifically just to separate, to create a hierarchy for locations. But most local business sites that serve that's a storefront business or a normal size service area business, they don't need silos. They really don't. It's really unnecessary and it overcomplicates the builds. And I've learned that specifically in the tree service industry. I used to always separate, like the homepage would be optimized for tree service. Then I would have a tree trimming silo. So a page for that, that would be the top of silo, and a tree removal page, top of silo. Then I would have location silos if it was a multi-location business. And then I might have another silo for arborists, like tree care, which is, very specific for certified arborist services, etc. And what I found over the years is Google thinks all of tree service, tree trimming, tree removal, tree pruning, tree cutting, all of those are synonyms. Tree care, Google thinks all of those are the same. They're variants of the same keyword. So it was just, for years, I always siloed my tree service sites. And I just learned in the last year and a half or 2 years now that it was completely unnecessary. I overcomplicated builds, and I didn't need to. I think we all do this, or many of us do this in the SEO industry, right? We think we're going to, and it's funny because, and occasionally we'll get somebody that comes into the mastermind and they spent literally 4, 5, 6, 8 hours developing a diagram of some elaborate silo structured site for, a dry cleaner website. You know what I mean? I'm using that kind of a joke, but I'm saying like something that's just a normal local business, and they put hours and hours and hours into developing this super complex site structure because, we think we're going to outsmart Google with some elaborate site structure, and all it does is just overcomplicate our ability to scale, right? Because now we got this big site that's a monstrosity. It's hard to build. It's hard to add stuff to because it's got to be added, and the internal linking structure is super complicated and everything else. And it's unnecessary. The whole tag silo thing worked because I had sites that were overbuilt with too many silos and, all that kind of stuff. And I've learned to simplify my site builds now. In fact, I don't even build silo structure unless I need to, which I will determine after I build the site structure as all kind of a flat site, meaning, especially more recently, the last 6 months, I've been building sites that have that every page on the site links to every other page on the site. So there is zero silo structure at all. Like, in other words, so every service page links to every location page links to every service page. And even every location page links to every other location page too. So and I found that I'm able to get results quicker that way. And it's much easier because when you have a site like that, when you build a link to any page on the site, it influences the entire site as opposed to a specific silo. Again, there might be times where it's necessary to build a silo, but even then I recommend a simple silo. So for example, an HVAC contractor, a lot of times HVAC companies will do HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. And those could be 3 separate silos if needed. And maybe you don't need a silo at all. It could just be 3 separate services pages, right? But you could potentially have a silo structure on there because you could have a top level page for plumbing, one for HVAC, and one for electrical. And then you could have, supporting posts for each of the services within each of those silos, if that makes sense. So there are times where like a simple silo structure is warranted. It makes sense. But what I found is that I see silos being built for a lot of local sites that don't need them. because we think that that's going to give us a ranking benefit. And all it does is it makes our jobs more difficult because it adds a layer of complexity for internal linking, for the way that you structure content, all of that. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense, guys. I'm just trying to tell you guys, keep it simple. It makes your job easier. It makes it easier to scale. You get better results, I found, with when building links to a site that isn't overly optimized with silos, like these complex silo structures, or these elaborate silo structures, I should say. I find that the sites respond to links better, right? Because again, when you have internal linking where like everything is kind of linked to each other, then when you link to anywhere on the site, it improves the overall site in its entirety, not just that one specific page. So I don't know if that was a clear answer or not. I'm just trying to tell you guys, like, you know, you don't need to build these super advanced silo structures. Now, talking about a mass page build, I don't do a lot of mass page stuff. I really did intend on doing some stuff with Magic Page, and I just never found the bandwidth to do it. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of experience with how to build silo structure into I know you can. That was part of the reason I was attracted to using it, but I never ended up really using it much. So is it easy? Can I easily mirror its silo its structure elsewhere? Again, that's part of the reason, keep it simple, right? Because if you do some sort of a complex silo, which, guys, for anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, a simple silo structure is top level pages and categories and then supporting posts, period. So it's 2 levels deep. That's it. There's top level pages and categories, then there's supporting posts. That's it. A complex silo structure is top level pages and categories, then child pages and subcategories, and then supporting posts. So it's 3 layers deep. So it's called a complex silo structure for a reason. It adds a lot of complexity. So even with the Magic Page mass page builds, I recommend, you know, a simple silo structure, and then you can mirror that a lot easier. Complex silos become difficult to mirror, hence the name complex. So anyway, but by the way, that's a really good question. Talk to the guys at Magic Page about that, right? They've been doing that for years. So Keith Best and Mike Martin and all them, and just go into their Magic Page group and just ask. I guarantee you there's some experts in the group that do a lot of mass page builds or Magic Page builds that can point you give you better instruction or better guidance than I just did as far as how to utilize it for Magic Page sites. Okay.